Alright boys, how's all doing?
No bad.
Hey, yourself.
We'll get more than a full house. I was going to say Hearts must back to being shite, but we're not back to being shite, but we did play shite, so we've got the fucking troops on to get absolutely torn about it, because it's the first thing we've had to moan about for 10 games? That's what it is, we're 10 undefeated now.
Bit that.
Aye, but it feels good, doesn't it? It feels good to have some gloom over Gorgie. That's what we look forward to. Ando, how's your week been?
Busy, man. Arranging. Obviously, we've sold Shanks, and we've bought 2 new recruits, and Forey and Sam. And I think, it's money well spent, because Shanks' battle's pish, and these 2 boys are probably going to be comedy gold. So I've been organising that, but. Jokes aside, never even bothered watching the Hearts game to any great degree on Saturday, because I was busy with other shit, and I'm fed up with this being good. I'll be back to my usual self when we're murder again.
Hey, Kev, other than being absolutely burst, how was your Saturday?
Pass.
Pass.
Let's move on. Aye. The idea.
You were doing that annoying thing in the pub where literally anybody could you were shouting. You were like 3 feet. They were literally in front of me, and you were shouting to the point that the boys at the bar were like, "The fuck is he all about, man?" You were literally raging. For the minute I walked in, I don't know what you're so angry about.
I was probably just getting set up for watching the fucking game.
Aye, that's true. That is true. We'll come to that, Kev.
Thanks.
Sam, did you make it this week?
I did. I drove. I didn't forget.
Aye, you didn't
Key
forget.
part of the game. It's fine. I wish I hadn't. I just would have rather just stayed in bed. It's fucking boring.
It was terrible. I'll give you that. Brad's.
You are talking shite when you say that you don't want to sit next to Kev because it's superstition. It's because he fucking slavers shite for 90 minutes. That's what I had to put up with.
I try to. We will never ever sit next to each other after Livingston away. I've never. Shanks one side, Kev the other. I was like, never again.
Ando drives 250 miles for that every second weekend. What the fuck's that all about?
Aye, again.
It's all right. I've emailed the ticket woman to get a move, man.
Right,
I'm not sitting in between them anymore. I can't even do it.
And I've emailed her to find out where he's moving to.
Sam, what's been happening? Thanks for coming on.
No, thank you for having me. Busy week, never even watched the game on Saturday. Put my phone away, took it out about 75 minutes to tweet a couple of moans and have a bit of verbo, and that was me for a nice weekend.
That was you. I was tweeting you. There was not a dry eye in the house for your moment for Scotty Wilson, but we'll come on to that.
Less said about him, the better. That man is trouble.
Forey, what's been happening?
Nothing much, mate. It's a good day on Saturday. Well, no, I agree. I couldn't even tell you anything that happened in the match. Thankfully, the sports scene coverage was about 3 hours long. It was just surprising for a 0-0 at the end of the programme. But a couple of notes to take it anyway. But highlight of my night was going into Three Sisters, and that up the tune is absolutely pish. That just all these like hen do's and stag do's, just all the undesirables for the north of England. Not for this bear, I'm afraid.
I did enjoy that it was a Friday night and you DM'd me, and all it said was, "Get me on with a bag of cans." I was like,
100%, mate.
This is my guy.
I was sitting in Riley's having a couple of Starapramins and that, and let's say I was a little bit worse for wear, and I thought, right, you bass, let's do it.
You're getting it.
You're getting it.
Oh, we're here now.
100%, lad.
We're here now. Right, as always, welcome back to This Is My Story, your unofficial Hearts podcast. As we say every week, all our opinions are our own and always miles off it. So this week we'll try and discuss Ross County, the weekend 0-0, pretty boring. We'll go over the calls of that. We'll get Sam and Forey's opinion on the season so far. We'll discuss, I think we've had a couple of, not setbacks in terms of injuries, but we'll discuss how players are on in terms of where they are and how we're looking for the cup final. We'll discuss our neighbours and how they continue to be hilarious. And we'll preview Celtic on Saturday. We'll get Kevin McKenna's. We'll get a tam down as well. Sound good, boys?
Sure does.
Nice. Right, Kev. Kevin McKenna's as players. Let's go for it. Do you have to do the answers for last week, or?
No, we done the answers for last week, so it's just 2 new ones for this week.
Go for it,
I'm going
Kev.
to put Forey and Sam on tender hooks. Not, but we'll get your answers at the end, lads.
Good joke, Kev.
I know, that was like
Cheers.
Good pattern, man.
Also, what the fuck are Tender hooks.
Oh,
I've
I
also-
knew you were jumping in here.
I haven't heard anybody say the word "not"
Aye.
since about 1995. But anyway,
Bringing it
let's
back.
go.
Bringing
Let's
it
go.
back.
Let's go. Is that a wee hint to who the player might be? Are we looking at the 90s?
No, we're not actually.
All right, let's go
Want
then.
to try and make it in Tam's era. Let's put it that way. So 254 appearances, no goals, but one significant penalty save. A winner of 2 honours across his career. Appeared in 3 Scottish Cup finals. So there you go. That's your first one. And your second one, a short career in the famous Maroon, 12 goals, capped at under 17, 19 and 21 level, and played for a European Cup winning club. Sam, you look absolutely buckled over.
Get a grip of yourself, Kev, coming away with that nonsense.
Welcome to the club, mate. How do you think
It'll be
you
funny.
feel?
Kev, with
You never listened to the last 16 weeks.
Kev, with the greatest of respect, this is the bit of the podcast I skip.
I am the same, to be honest.
I'm actually surprised that Corbett keeps asking me to date week in, week out.
I've got to make you feel welcome, Kev.
Aye.
Got to make you feel welcome.
Everyone's
Right.
got their own me bit.
What did you say? He'd played 12 games for Hearts. This guy.
Second guy, no, scored 12 goals.
Oh, scored 12 goals. Right. Okay. Okay. Right. Sound. We'll do the answers at the end. Brad's, you're doing the time down for this week. Is it a hands in the air job or what we up to?
Not at all. Not at all. It's kind of falling on Fando's one for last week, but there was too much positivity. So I've got my modern era, my worst 11, and you've got to guess them. And
1
this
to
is-
11, like goalkeeper forward or just 11
Aye,
players?
I've got to be 4-4-2, mate.
All right, sound
Keep
nice.
it easy for you, and I'll give you a wee clues, and we'll work our way up. I'll go through our guests, and we can.
That's to keep the Heart Stars happy on Jambo's kickback. 4-4-2.
That's it. It was as easy as setting it up. This is what was taking me so long. It turns out we've had loads of fucking shite players. So
Mate, no way.
narrow-
No, I'm not buying that.
Render me speechless. man.
narrowing it down to an 11 was actually fucking tough. We'll go down the board. I'll give you a wee clue to each player, and then if we can't get it, I'll give you them at the end. Tam, seeing as you like all the fucking easy ones, the low-hanging fruit, you can start me off with my goalkeeper.
Joe Pereira.
Absolutely, 100%. Who's next on my screen? Forey, left
Fuck's
back,
sake.
17 internationals.
17 in it.
Oh.
Listen, mate, I've not got a fucking clue when it comes to this bit.
Held hand with Lionel Messi.
Not a fucking clue, son.
Off, Ando, your man. Aye.
Your worst left back in the history the club's ever had. Kev, you
I
going to take
think you're
over for
wrong
him?
there, to be honest, Brad. Miles off the pace. I think you rethink that one.
Right, Kev, who are you going for?
Well, the fucking piece of piss for Nigeria.
Oh, fucking aye. Sorry, right. I get you.
I've tried to
J1.
wipe his name from my fucking memory, and I can't mind.
Corbett, you're next on my list.
Is it? And you're telling me it's no Oceania?
No, it is, but they're just going to get the name.
All right, okay, sound. All right, there you go. Aye.
J1 Oshiniwa. By the way, there are players in here who have actually gone on to decent careers. This is my personal list because I think they're
Alright,
fucking
okay.
murder. The next one who also can play left back, can play centre back. Sam, this comes to you. Your wee clue is that he probably wasn't a footballer. I reckon he was a painter and decorator. He came over from Poland to do the stadium redevelopment and ended up playing for us.
Is that Kucharski character?
It's not, no.
Oh, fuck, you've got me stumped there.
Aye.
Ando.
Buckle.
It was the 17-18 season he was there.
Oh,
I know.
It's no Struna, is it?
So no,
It
Greslak.
can't be.
It is.
Oh, I fucking hated that prick as well. Centre midfield in the derby.
Aye.
That's my
Rafael
sleep paralysis demon.
Griezlick is in at centre
Oh,
back.
fucking hell, yeah, sorry.
Where was
And-
Struna?
And he is my
You
right
want
back.
to be
Ando.
mad at
Oh, there you go, Ando. You got a point. He's the right back.
Fucking yes, there we go.
He is
Right.
my
Lads,
right back.
this is literally just the side Ian Cathro signed in the January transfer window.
It's literally no far off about
Mate,
it.
like, I fucking tell you, if Don Cowie doesn't make this, I'll be absolutely livid.
Oh, that's a good one.
Tam, my other centre back has actually played for some fairly decent clubs, but you know personally how much I fucking hate him. So who would it be? 7,000 passes, not one to the man.
Oh, Danny Wilson.
Danny Wilson's on my fucking list. What a fucking rocket
Shoulder
he
height
is.
ball, aye. Prick.
Aye.
He was absolutely fucking murder for me. I know he's going off to do good things, but fuck him.
Why do shite Hearts players have great tunes, man?
That's the best thing about it.
Danny Wilson one was a belter, and so was the Ollie Lee tune. He was a belter. Although I secretly loved Ollie Lee, but that was just a Corbett moment.
So
we've done your right back,
into,
can't we?
Aye, we've done them all. That's the back line done. So we'll go back up. For your next left midfielder. He's got Schalke in his locker, and he's also had a clause for I think 39 million at one point.
Aye.
Oh, is that not that? What is it? That boy? Do we know
Scores-
Lauren Stoke?
Scores with every
That
club
boy,
he plays with.
narrowed it down.
Did they not
Shut
say
up.
he scores for every club he plays for, and toe bang 2 of them at the parket?
I can't remember his name either, to be honest.
Honest, Abdijaz.
That's it.
Oh, aye.
Donis Avajaj.
Sexy
There you go.
playboy.
Aye.
Tremendous
Yeah.
moustache.
He had a brilliant moustache. I'll give him that.
I mean, when he signed, I was fucking fuck relegation.
Aye, mate. I remember like finding his hingies and sending it to my mates, being like, "This guy was worth 40 million signed for the Highlands." He's fucking shite.
Kev, you're next. Centre mids. You probably never remember that he ever played for the club because he was that fucking pish. 2015 season, he played for a team after Hearts called Quick Boys. That tells you how good he was. Your other clue might be. In fact, I'll let you guess first, and I'll give you another one.
That sounds like a World of Soccer 5-a-side team.
I think it might be.
got an idea on that one.
Could well be. Did he have a good game against Livingston?
He had no good games.
Yeah, well, aye. Well, scored against Livingston.
Kev, your other clue is he's a Dutch Scotsman.
Aye. Come on.
Was that a 24? Aye, Anderson.
Yep, Kenny Anderson.
You didn't get a fucking half an answer, you daft bastard. Get a full name or fuck all. I was going to steal that for you.
He was never seen. Kenny Anderson was never seen after he got shot one day. I think it was against Queen of the South in that season. He went down when nobody round about him, ball in front of him, went down. Was never seen after it. Could maybe actually just dug a hole in him. Don't know.
My next centre mid, Corbett. Your clue is he's the.
Oh, I know who that is.
Well, I don't know. It could be anybody. How long ago?
You spent too much time trying to fight with his wife.
I knew it.
Oh, that could be anybody too. Oh, aye. Glenn Whelan.
It is Glenn Whelan.
Oh, she was giving me verbal on Twitter one day and all.
I got back.
Fucking awful, not her.
Aye.
He did stay up here. He had a travel lodge.
Not a fucking did.
I said to him, I was like, I'll carry you back down the road and all that. He's getting it verbal.
Special mention to Mulrenny Martin, who I was going to put in there. Did anybody know that he signed for Palermo after Hearts?
Yeah, they went to Serie C or something.
What the fuck happened there?
Wait, Kyle Lafferty, didn't he?
The two of them?
Yeah.
Did he not go there, no?
Nah, he was there years ago with that Dybala, however you say it.
Yeah.
Right, Sam, back to you. I changed my right winger probably about 14 times in this team because they're all been shite. This boy, again, went on to be alright after Hearts. He was in the 2015 season as well, and he's now currently an East Fife baller, and he was a as well. Sorry, Tam, you got a lot of it in.
Fine.
East Fife. Anything in the East Coast is invalid to me. Next question. Honestly, you lost me at East Fife. I was thinking 2015 and then you've lost me.
He was another one of these Dundee United rejects.
Oh.
Was it Dundee United? I think it was.
What was the clue?
2015 season, currently plays for East Fife. He was
Danny Swanson, is it?
It was Danny Swanson, absolutely. Hands down.
Oh,
Garbage.
did you forget about all the people you hate, man, didn't you?
This is why I had to bring the negativity back to the pod. Right, going up front for my last two. Ando. 17 games, 1 goal.
Could be any striker in the last time.
I've got an idea, just based off
The best thing he ever done at Hearts was he did a video and he stood in his pants. It's the funniest thing he ever done.
I know it is.
17 games, 1 goal. What seasons? you got
No, I think that was probably 15 as well, was it not? No, maybe later than that.
Is that fucking fella for Holland, isn't it?
Nah.
No.
Morocco, Holland.
It's-
Morocco, is that it? Morocco, Dutch.
Morocco.
I have
yeah,
no
get
fucking
it.
clue.
He's went to
Man.
Dundee United and been severely underwhelming.
Yeah,
Aye.
no, absolutely. He's been underwhelming everywhere he's been.
No, I would start him up.
The goal
I'm
line
off.
clearance v Celtic in the opening game of the season.
He was the 2016 season with Hearts.
I can't think, man. Mental block.
You've lost me. I thought it was El Hassan. Eh?
Wait.
Wasn't El Haas.
Tony Watt.
Tony
It's
Watt.
Tony Watt.
Away you
Fuck's
go.
sake.
A goal line clearance for Celtic in the opening game of the season. We should have fucking buried them.
For Celtic, did you say?
Aye, okay, just, it was literally
He should have
cut back to him. He was about 4 yards out and he missed.
Yeah, headed it back away, or not,
Aye.
just missed it, didn't he? Straight down.
And the final player on my list, who did we go up to?
We're
Me,
free
but I
for all
couldn't
now.
hear it.
Just
Just
go
a
back to
free
Tam.
for all.
Tam, for a free for all. This player played 15 games, 0 goals, and his best spell came when he played for Vauxhall Motors before Hearts.
That boy
Oh
that
my
scored
God.
loads. That
The guy-
that boy's
He's now like Golden Boot winner in
Aye,
English
Gold Boot,
leagues
aye.
rather
Yes.
than Mitrovic or something, isn't
It's absolutely cool Stockton.
he?
cool stop.
So
Oh,
I'll
aye.
very quickly
Scored-
I'll run you through my
Scored
team.
a brace in the Oban Cup or whatever it was.
Just when you remember you
He's
liked
fucking
Hearts.
ripping up down south.
Aye.
And
Is
that's
there not
it.
a rumour that he was coming back? Imagine.
No, I
Aye.
try to start that all the time.
All right,
A bit of hustle going to wind people up, but
Aye, so just to remind everybody, here's the positivity. Remember, this is what Hearts can also do. Popadom, Oshniwa, Grieslak, Danny Wilson, Strona, Advilai, Anderson, Whelan, Danny Swanson, Tony Watt, Cole Stockton. There you go, boys. What a team that is.
Who's your,
Fucking shite.
who's your
My
manager?
manager was Ian Cathro.
Yeah.
I tell you, that big shiftless bastard Vanacek, lucky.
He's he's on
6
the
months
list.
in Thailand.
He's on the
Rocks
list.
up-
He's on there,
Right.
along with
rocks
Danny
up that
Danny
space hopper,
Amankwa.
man.
Danny Amankwa.
He's
Cole
had the
Shaughnessy.
heat taken off him by Chris Muller
Ha!
for being the most useless, overhyped player to ever show up in Edinburgh. At least Vanacek only showed up with a fat arse. Muller's been walking about with an owl. Fucking embarrassing, man.
Fucking hell.
There we go. Right, well that moves us on to our headlines for the week anyway. We might as well start with our neighbours because we've got to talk about them in, but it's been great fun watching them fall apart. Innit? Anybody buy Sportamon Go or whatever it was called, your Pokemon Bitcoins?
I dabbled.
You dabbled, have you?
How much money do you lose?
Aye, it's been a good laugh. Like, it's been a good laugh. They keep, I don't know why. You'll be the same on your Twitter, and that people retweet or like it that you happen to have liked before. So you always see things just keep coming up, and I'm watching them arguing amongst themselves, talking about how Ron Gordon is either fixing the club and is going to be brilliant, or is ruining the club and is going to kill them. And it's been superb to see. In terms of useless Hibs players, Forey, where does Muller rank for you?
I don't know, Ken. I seen a tweet for some American journal that was saying it's Chicago Fire getting an amazing player that had 30 appearances and 6 goals in his 2 years with Orlando City. And I'm just like, that just sums up your MLS for you. Absolute garbage. Not for this man.
Aye. And he's gone back up the road with a goal against Arbroath.
15 games, 1 goal, 0 assists.
Aye. Absolutely. And then I seen someone had said apparently that Melkerson or whoever it is that plays up front is an AstroTurf like Messi apparently, and this was
that reindeer hot dog that's been giving them verbal.
Aye, mate,
that
he's had them on strings like.
Fucking lunatic. He definitely eats
He's been
faster tough. Him. He's
Aye.
nuts.
So they'd been saying that someone was like, oh, this will be brilliant. This is where we'll see the real value of Melkerson because he's come through in Norway or whoever playing on AstroTurfs and they got pumped off Livy. Did anybody see their goalkeeper as well? With the Livy goal that we're talking about, Joel Pereira there.
Diving the wrong way.
What did I? He just dived the wrong way. It was like, what the fuck is he doing? Just gave
I
up.
don't know if you've
Just dived the
I
wrong
don't know if
way.
you've ever seen one of these like penalty shootout things and it's got a robot keeper that just falls one way or the other. That's all he fucking done there. Was just
Aye.
To be fair, they were lucky it wasn't 2-0. That Joel Newell firing a ball across his own box, and then it goes
Aye.
to the. I don't know if it was Alan Forrest. He just pits it wide, but disaster club, man.
I know that. And that, to be fair, that Alan Forrest, if he ends up at the Hearts, he can't be missing open goals for 12 yards against Hibs. He's going to have to start to learn to bury them.
It's all right. We'll move it from boys to Forrest. It's all right. Share the responsibility.
He took some of the heat off Boyce for some of his misses on Saturday, which we'll cover as we go. Right, back to Hearts, talking about Saturday after the game. Robbie Neilson had kind of hinted that Ellis Sims will be used probably sparingly from now until the cup final. Boys in the podcast, we spoke about him in length last week as well, but I'll give you guys Sam. Ellis Sims, have you been impressed with what you've seen with the big man so far?
Aye, very. He brings a lot to the game. I mean, finishing's not a strong point, but he offers something and some dynamism that we don't have up top in terms of running and the power that he offers. Really impressed with him. I think he's been great since he came in, and he's just getting better game by game.
Forey, I think Saturday highlighted one of the issues that we'd kind of talked about sort of earlier in the season when he came in, was as soon as he came on Saturday and Boyce dropped back, we were a different team going forward. Like when we were trying to play Boyce up front by himself as a sort of the outball or the target man type thing, he's just not as effective as what Sims is. Have you been impressed with Sims as well?
Absolutely. I think when you see some of Hearts' best moments, particularly in the last couple of months, it's been Mackay linking up with Sims. I think as well, when you've got Boyce as that out ball, we're constantly, sometimes in the game, and I think that's what we could have done on Saturday, is that kind of that long ball. But when you're looking at that, you're taking all that extra touch. You're trying to keep it on the ground because Boyce isn't the tallest, let's be honest. But then when you've got Sims in the game, you can play that long ball over the top, which again, you've Brexit football, whatever you want to call it. But he's actually a pretty tall striker for Hearts that actually jumps. Not like your boys of the past day. But
he is one of the ones that there's nothing more Hearts than having a 6'5" striker that jumps and can't win a header. It is refreshing to see the big man up there as well. In terms of Devlin, Robbie had said, I think Devlin made the bench on Saturday, didn't he? But didn't he come on?
Aye.
Was that true? Or was he just in the squad or something?
No, they're nursing him. I think he kind of they pushed him to get ready for Celtic, and he was a wee bit too soon. Sorry, not Celtic, Hibs, and he was a wee bit too soon. So I think they're just making sure that he's fit for the final. So he might dabble in the next couple of weeks, I think, but I don't know if he did on Saturday.
It is mad how we went full circle. That actually, again, we spoke about the impact that Sims had when he came on Saturday. I actually thought Andy Halliday made a big impact in the middle of the park when he came on Saturday as well. It seems the Derby goals or whatever, in playing in that central midfield role, it seems to have kicked Haring and Halliday onto a level that, to be honest, we've seen it with Peter Haring over the seasons, and we knew that he was capable of being that. But it's the injuries and the type of injuries he's dropped a yard in terms of where he likes to sit in the park or whatever. But we've spoken about it at length on the podcast, about it is refreshing to see Hearts being really quite strong in the middle of the park, isn't it, Sam?
Hi. I'm miles away there. I'm thinking about all the things that Haring's been doing recently. No, it's very refreshing. I think the last couple of weeks, and since the semi-final, you've noticed that Haring in particular stepped up a gear. I mean, McKenna came on in the semi-final and did very little, so you really have to take the fair share of responsibility. And Halliday as well has done well, and it makes a big difference because I felt early in the game we couldn't get to grips with the midfield. So to see these two stepping in at a key point in the season is really refreshing, and it makes a difference to see guys stepping in because Hearts teams in the past would just fold, when the going gets tough. So that's my final answer of the night.
Aye, and like we've just seen, we just laughed and joked about Bradsy's team there or whatever, but one of the biggest things that we've said for ages and ages was the fact that that engine room right across the board for Hearts is a problem area, and we have recruited well in there and really sort of stepped up the calibre of player, which is decent, so that's cool. In terms of Saturday, we get Celtic, but we're still looking at, do you reckon, Kev, we're going to see sort of Kingsley, anybody like that before the cup final, or is it just let's see how we get on?
I think we're going to see Kingsley on Saturday. I wouldn't be surprised if Robbie decides to keep him out of the side and use Cochrane, or even maybe look at some of the young lads. I can't see Kingsley coming into the squad. Yes, he might not squad, the starting 11. he might actually be on the bench for Saturday, but I don't expect to see him starting. I think there's a balancing act at the moment. We were talking this before we started recording, that Robbie's got to actually try and get certain players maybe back into the squad to give them a bit of match fitness between now and the cup final. I know he's spoke about Mikey Smith being back. He's seemingly his back spasms of at least not as severe as they were, or they've effectively stopped altogether. I think he's also said that Souters has got a possibility of actually playing maybe against Motherwell next week. I read somewhere. So I think there's a balancing act at the moment of just trying to keep the players match fit, up to speed with games, but also you didn't want them to actually, any particular injuries this late in the season to become even worse. So could be an interesting, starting 11 for Saturday.
For see, if you're Robbie Neilson, right, and you've got these 3 games left, we've spoken about this before, but like, do you risk everything so that you have your best 11 on paper, or when it comes to that cup final on the 21st of May, do you play the players that are in form? Like, so what I'm saying there's like, if Sibic and Moore continue to build a relationship and put in solid and decent performances, do they make way for Halkett and Souter, even though they're maybe not sharp and all that? What would you do if you're
I think
in
if
the
you're
hot
Robbie
seat?
Neilson, you've got to play your best players. I think if you say, for example, you've got Liverpool are going to be in the Champions League final. Let's say if Van Dijk and Matip are out, if they're going to be coming back for that Champions League final, those are the players that are going to play. The only thing about Souter is that because he's been out for 2 months, he's not going to have that sharpness. But I think as we'll come on to later on, Sibic and Moore, if they kind of get a bit of form going over the next kind of couple of games, definitely a question for Neilson. Whether I would say maybe kind of Sibic in there more than maybe with a Halkett or maybe with a Souter. But I think with the semi, as we've seen, kind of in that big occasion, Moore was maybe he done a job, but he's a man that can lose his head. So is that the gamble you take as well?
Aye, it's, like I said, it's a balance. It's a balancing act as well, because obviously you want your best 11 on the park type thing, but then you're right, and you say that actually by the time the cup final comes, Moore and Sibic could potentially have played 6 or 7 games together. If we continue to stay, if we go from now to the cup final undefeated, it's a bit of a kick in the teeth for them, innit, if it comes to the showpiece game of the season and they're preferred over someone that's last game of the season when we're talking about Souter, if you know what I mean. But we'll come on to that sort of stuff later as well. Something that made us laugh. Does anybody want to take this? Christoph Berra wants to return to the club to be the manager. Anybody want to?
He can
I'll be
stab at
if that ever happens. No way that snake gets back in.
That was the reaction that I wanted. That's fine. Kev, what you're going to say? You're going to say something sensible and ruin it?
No, I was going to say exactly the same thing. That we were for a long time. We were the club that would let every flipping ex-player come back and do a bit of coaching, do a bit of this, that, and the next thing, and give them that chance. He can go and get the fuck.
Are all of our coaches no ex-players? No, is it?
No for Hearts though.
No for that. Sorry, just other ex-players.
No. We've had
Aaron Hughes. I'm sure he's involved.
Was he still with a woman? I don't know how it was set up.
Oh, I don't know where he's went to. That was my reaction as well.
I think with the way he's carried on when he's come away for the club, I know it's not kind of ended in the best fashion, but with his TV appearances and kind of negatively talking about Hearts, obviously you've got to be honest in punditry, but he's clear biased with the old ladies, shall we say, the ugly sisters. It's just just playing up to that.
He's so similar to Levine in terms of just making jibes and digs and trying to make light of it and trying to, when Stendo came in, the he caused will not be forgotten. Jesus Christ will not forget his crimes, and it's him he will answer to. You know what I mean?
It's a good comparison you make there, because it's one of the things that I think has helped.
Jesus.
It's helped us all. Jesus, our Lord and Saviour. But other than that, what I talked about was one of the good things about Robbie. Was Robbie used to fall into that mould of he was like Levine. He was dead. He would snap at the fans, or he'd be dead sarky and bitter, or he'd make light of something that we were annoyed about, make excuses. Berra's like that as well. But now the fact that you can see a noticeable difference in Robbie in terms of he's a wee bit more guarded in what he says in the press. He's no longer sort of it's just a game, take the emotion out of it and all that. It's all kind of bullish stuff to say like, no, like we have to win, these games matter and all that. And it's been a good step change for Robbie. It's one that I think has kept my bed sheets on my bed.
Savage has definitely tuned them in. 100%.
I would agree. I would agree with that. Oh, actually, there was a good thing that we've not spoke about. We didn't talk about the big screens at Tynecastle. That's going to be, we're going to get some soccer ball on the go with the big screens for it. What you thinking? You making any VTs for it? You want to get your birthday shout out?
Yeah, well, if I'm not going to be taking over Scott Wilson's position, I'm going to be making some very damning videos, including, and I think there should be a away fan cam, should I say? You know what I mean? Given they've got like the basketball and that, kiss cam and that, it shouldn't be like that. It's just if you see this person, they get egged.
Well, that's what
we're egged, coined, anything.
We could do that for the Scottish Cup final because it's obviously the kiss and cuddle final because we're playing our big cousins. We could have like a kiss cam in that, and we'll just get off each other. It'll be brilliant, man. It'll be superb.
I've dusted out my muff suit that's been sitting in the cupboard since the 2012 Cup final. I don't know if anyone remembered that craze last time. But
you get mate.
Muff suit.
What kind did you have? I had a leopard print one, man. It's
like one for our cousins over there. Get myself lubed up. Fun for all the family.
That's the way it needs to be. That's what we want. Actually, that we can talk about something semi-sensible because Villarreal going out, that had a negative impact on us if they won the Champions League, didn't it, in terms of qualification, or was that gone?
No, sorry. Nah, I don't think it was us. It was maybe Rangers that affected. I think we are fine, but if anything, it was Rangers. Right, okay. We are fine.
We're all right, so that's good. That's what we wanted. Our European adventures are still on the go. Lucky us indeed. Right, we'll go through, before we talk about Ross County and all that, obviously got our guests on here, so we'll give you a wee bit of a platform we'll talk about in terms of how the seasons went for yous. Sam, in terms of the season, briefly, how you found it, what's been your highs, what's been your lows, what have you enjoyed about it this year?
I mean, generally pretty good. I'm making no secret that I do not like Robbie Nielsen. Me and that man do not see eye to eye. He's got a haircut that I don't trust. So he's won me around a lot this season. There's been a lot of positives to take. Ideally we'd be a little bit closer to the old firm in it, but you can't ask for much more in your first season. The cup run was always going to be something that he was judged on, and I was disappointed the way we went out the League Cup. But honestly, no complaints for me. He's get us a pass. The trims helped them a wee bit. Taking my volatileness down a wee bit, but I can't be any happier. I think it's a good stepping stone as long as we capitalise on it. We really can't ask for any more.
On that basis, Sam, what do you think he should do with his hair?
Well, I think you've either got to transplant it or just go for a shave. Maybe
straight to Turkey.
But I don't want him to go bald all over because there's enough bald men in this club. And if a bald man is doing well in life, he's made a deal with the devil. All right, and I'm not interested in entertaining that.
Fuck you, Sam.
So either a wee, couple of grass, as it they're called, or go for a 4 all over. We 6.
I would love to see that. Tynecastle, we've got the big screens. We get the disco lights because we're in Europe. Pitch black. Robbie comes out with the smoke and he's got fucking a full ponytail because he's been in Turkey. Got the transplant. Comes out like the under.
Well, that was my next question. Can we get a Turkish team in our European travels? Is that possible? Has MD seen? There's been a number of clubs being.
Remember at the heyday, the Romanov, like the height of the Romanov revolution, we had like Paul Hartley, long hair and a beard, Robbie Nielsen, long hair and a beard, Stephen Presley, long hair and a beard. That's what I want us to line up for the first Europa League match. Just Turkeyed out our nut, man. Just brilliant.
There's a couple of questionable hairlines in that team and all. Don't think Nathaniel Atkinson's got away from me. Running
I hadn't even noticed that. I hadn't even noticed that until Saturday. The rain done him dirty. Like
there's a couple. Craig Halkett's another one who's playing with fire. I noticed these things.
The pair of them, they're both like that player that played for Rangers. I can't remember what his name was, but he had a that's him. Absolutely fucking scandalous hairdo. Scandalous.
Back the Eamon Bannon. That's what I want. Get a proper old school Eamon Bannon right round the side there, hair bald at the top. Brilliant. It's what needs
Again,
to
what
come
actually
back.
I'm going to do just for
Just
this
that
on
Cup
our
final.
European adventure starting now, right? I've got a wee bit that grows in isolation right here at the front, right? I'll shave the rest of it off, but I'm going to continue growing this. I'll do a big,
cut it into a wee
big
love
fucking
heart for the
sweep
Cup
back.
final.
Right. It's not even enough, man. It's kind of like it looks like cypress. It's all fucking skewed at one side. It's like cypress seed.
Forey, what about yourself? How would you sum up the season?
It's been brilliant, isn't it? You know what I've thought throughout the last couple of months is how reminiscent this season's been to our first season back after the last demotion. So, kind of with good start, a little bit of a shaky peg in the middle, but then we've absolutely sailed it when it comes to, kind of coming to Europe. And then, we'll not talk about the Europe campaign after that. Hopefully this time's a lot better, but, kind of the team that we've got this time around, kind of miles better. And it just feels like we've got more of a control at the club. I think in terms of, kind of the recruitment and in terms of the day-to-day decisions and just kind of everything that's really the buzz as well that's around the club, it just feels a lot more special this time around. There's probably seasons gone by where like, are we going to win this week? Kind of what's going to happen. But I think now, kind of you can turn up every week and you feel like we're going to give every team a game. We've got Celtic coming up this weekend, and can you feel that depending on the team that we put out, you never know what can happen. And as I'm sure guys that are a bit older than me that can remember your 98s and whatnot, it's you probably maybe weren't the most confident going into that, but maybe how confident are you this time with the side that we've got? So I think for us now, I think for Nielsen and the team, I think it's the next season or two, how can we invest this money that we've got coming in? How can we kind of continue this buzz around the club? Because it's really the sky's the limit in terms of where we can go really now, I think.
And I like it's a good comparison when the first season to come back up under Robbie, but the problem with that season was there was a point, almost a point in time where we could have kicked on and tried to get second, but we already had third in the bag, and it felt like we just kind of banked what we had, got the season finished, if you know what I mean. Like we're never going to get caught in third. Let's not worry about second. Let's consolidate. Whereas for this season, it's different because obviously that season we never had Rangers and all that in the league, whereas now you've got the Old Firm are back established or whatever. So you're never going to get a point where you can sit and seriously say you're going to go chase Celtic and Rangers. But it's felt like that wobble, Ibrox, and then obviously I think we lose to St Johnstone the week after. But from that sort of moment on, we've not looked back, and it's just been like keep going, try and keep getting points. And you've seen it with the teams that we've been putting out that are essentially dead rubbers. Still try to win the matches and that. Sam?
Just to touch on what you and Forey said, I think last time we came up, there was a real house of cards feeling amongst it. The recruitment still wasn't great. You're still relying on people like Craig Levine. It's a case of when's this going to fall apart, not if it falls apart. The foundations we've got here now are much better. And like you said, there's a mentality amongst this club at the moment where we just keep rolling and getting points. And we've got the structure at the back to back it up. And it just seems, where can we go now,
Brads, we do like to have a wee laugh at Hibs or whatever, but genuinely, I find the thing that I find the funniest right now is they're just us 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Taking punts on managers, signing nobodies but building them up to be unbelievable, telling us that pure jam tomorrow culture. And that's why it's funny, because we've been there and lived it, innit?
Well, it's like I got called obsessive today because I was retweeting Hib stuff, and I was like, "You're fucking right, I am."
Did you Hib steer them? Did you Hib steer them?
You're absolutely right. I'm obsessed with them now. Aye, because we have lived through it. We have been there, and it's their team's murder. They can't play under a manager. Well, they've not got a manager. Got this power-hungry American in charge who was a saviour and is now just doing nepotism and signing his laddie and stuff. So
his sons. And then the thing too as well, like as much as football has to keep going or whatever, but they're talking about signing players. Do you know what I mean? And I'm a manager. Do you know what I mean? And you keep hearing this. We play a certain way in the Hib style, and you know what coaches coming in. Look at Sean Maloney's. The reason he's failed there is because he was so stubborn about this is how I play. This is my philosophy. How are they signing players?
I think Sean Maloney. I've seen an interview, and he was almost nipping at that. And I read one today that Roy Keane is obviously taking his hat out of the ring because they have a signing committee rather than the manager and the obviously financial manager and the managing director usually sit down and they decide. They've got a committee of, so it'll be Ron Gordon, his son. What's his son's name? Ian, is it?
Ian.
Ian, and then their American team will decide who they're bringing in, and no manager wants that. They lose control, they lose autonomy of their team. So they're making it sound like an absolute shit show, which is fucking tremendous.
Didn't you hear Roy Keane the other day moaning about Burnley celebrating with their fans? Did you see that?
He's
Aye,
hard
I
work,
did.
isn't he?
Mate,
He's
I get it. Sometimes it's fine. I understand he's played at the highest level, but they're 1-0 down in the 83rd minute, pretty much looking at relegation, come back and win 2-1, and he's upset that the fans are like the players are celebrating with the fans. Good
That
fun
is
every day.
absolutely fucking ridiculous. It's like and all that's going to do is galvanize the support, isn't it? It's like they're not out the woods yet, but it could potentially be on the back of a result like that. What they're supposed to do is like give it a little clap and wander back to the fucking halfway line. Don't be a fucking wank.
Aye, but that's what he is, though.
Oh,
Eh,
you know what? Fucking give him the job. Give him the job. I have fucking material for months, man.
I would have loved to have seen
Fucking
him
prick
manage
of a boy.
Chris Muller. Imagine that. That would have been amazing. With his wee inspirational quote book, and then his owl and Roy Keane fucking shouting him for clapping the fans or something.
Aye, smashing them every week. What about Player of the Year for you, Sam? Who would be your nomination for Player of the Year?
I think Gordon's the obvious one. You know, I don't think you can look past him, but I'd like to give a special shout out to Stephen Kingsley as well. I think he's our best defender. I think he's our best outfield player. What he brings to the team, I don't think can replicate. And you know, my ongoing battle with Craig Halkett, I'll not acknowledge how well he's done. You know, me and him, I'm taking personal credit for rejuvenating that man's career. He was 2 stone overweight and going nowhere when I started this agenda and new Scotland call-ups. So we'll keep going. This is a nice wee sparring session we'll have, and we'll continue it. I think Craig Gordon, but you know, Barry Mackay sensational, and I'd say Stephen Kingsley sensational, but ultimately that fucking idiot in goals gets it.
Aye, Stephen. You're right about Stephen Kingsley, though. I think it's one of those. It's that weird thing. Barry Mackay will get all the plaudits because of what he does and the type of position he plays. People love that type of stuff. But Stephen Kingsley is like 8 out of 10 every single week. And what is he, second top goal scorer at the club or something like that just now, isn't he?
That's
Mental. Forry, what about yourself? What would you say for Player of the Year for your
it's got to be Kingsley for me as well, mate. You just know that when you get that free kick, you know, 20, 25 yards of the box, everyone's like, Kingsley. You know, it's just that sort of collective thing, and it's just, and that goal in the semi, you just can't get better than that, mate. You know what I mean?
Nah,
and just easy answer for me, Kingsley every day of the week, and he's just a big hunk, big
Aye.
bit of me, right? Bit of me, him like 100%.
What about?
Although a funny story about Stephen Kingsley, I used to hate the man mainly because I was at my mate's for the Hearts Celtic final, you know, the one under lockdown. If the police are watching this, I was watching it at my own house, not in the house of my friends. I was at my mate's, and then Kingsley scores that equaliser, or was it the second goal or whatever?
Aye.
I jump up out the seat, absolutely buzzing. My flatmate jumps on the back of me. We take a tumble right through the back of my leg, breaks it. Thankfully, I've had about 3/4 of a bottle of Appleton Estate rum. Didn't care if it was New York or New Year. Wake up in the morning, absolute ankle the size of the Empire State Building, and sent the man a DM. Said, Stephen, if you love me, you'll send me a strip. Did he reply? No, he didn't. He blocked me.
Mate, well, he's just become my favourite player. He never responded, and he blocked you the way you should have been treated. Fantastic.
Melt. All his fault.
You should make him a sign for the last game at
What he's done in the
Just you watch, Ando. I've got a point to make about that when we get to the Ross County segment, but I'll hold my tongue right now.
Somebody has to take one for the team and break their leg for the cup final. There we go. Body broke his. I broke mine in 2012. Somebody's like,
do you not smash both your knees?
Aye.
Right, I'll do something. Fuck it.
Why not?
I've been away pretty unscathed over the years, so
you
fuck
take
it.
something one for the team.
I'll take a header down the stairs, man. It'll be sound.
Right,
I watched you try and kick a ball. I know how brittle you are.
Mate, it's embarrassing, isn't it? It's embarrassing, isn't it? My favourite thing about when we went to play was Shanks. I've never seen somebody play football like Shanks in my whole entire life.
In a fucking tank top.
Aye, in a tank top. I was walking down to the stadium, could see that we played at the back of the Livy Stadium in the AstroTurf, and we'd have like a fucking Nigeria tank top on or
Oh,
something like that.
Lord.
That'll be what the Ivory Coast tank.
Aye, it
is
was
it?
like some
Because the
mad
Ivory
tank
Coast
top.
done one for a World Cup, I think.
Aye, and I think he was wearing rugby football boots or like rugby boots, and just toe banged it. He was doing toe bang volleys and everything. I've never seen this before. How
And
can
like
he toe?
chasing after the ball as well, which
Aye,
is the
he could
weirdest
toe
part.
poke a header. I've never seen that in my whole entire life, man.
Fucking hell.
Never seen that in my whole entire life. Right, before we go in and we talk about Ross County, I'll go back to you two. Do you have a moment of the season, Sam? You got a moment of the season so far? What would you say?
I think it has to be against Hibs in that semi-final. I mean, that where we were, we could see Stephen Kingsley, the ball starts outside the post that comes in, taught him everything he knows. I don't think you can't take away from that. That was sensational.
Aye, that was a belter. Forey, what about yourself? Same?
Nah, mine's the derby the week before, because you go 1-0 down and you think we're out of this. But I turned to my couple of mates though. I was at the game and I said we're not losing this game. I said it was going to be a draw a week, but I turned and said to him, I said we are not losing this game. Tell you that now. That mob, I'm sitting up the back of section, upper end and that, they're all spewing their bile and that. But then it's like Andy Halliday, double bosh, shut your mouth, back up the road, melts.
We hadn't even really appreciated it at the time, but that was like the first proper like limbs that we'd had. Ibrox away was all right, but like at home, an actual like opportunity to celebrate proper full time Castle and limbs, and it was sensational. I've still got a big massive scar on my leg for ripped my trousers and everything for the back of G. Like it was great fun. It was great fun. Right, let's talk about the fucking game on Saturday. Ross County at Tynecastle, 0-0. Is that it? I think we just leave it at that.
Good review.
Done.
We'll go over the coals with it. So, what was the starting 11? Was it pretty much the same as the week before? The team that ended, was it?
Aye.
Woodburn came on, I think, and Sims dropped out.
Aye. Let's talk about Woodburn actually, because it's contrary to what most people will say. I actually thought he had a semi-decent game in the middle of the park. Him and Haring played quite well. Anybody disagree with anything he's what to say on Woodburn?
Me and Kev spent 90 minutes saying he was pish. So
Did we?
well, we were also steaming and not looking at the pitch. So
Tam, you never say anything negative about anybody, so tell us how good Woodburn was.
I was going to say he's definitely not a winger. Put it that way. He's much better in the centre of the park. He's still no. I wouldn't have him starting if all our centre mids were fit, but he done a job. Put it that way.
Aye, true, fair. For you've got 14 pages of notes. We'll start with the starting 11. What was your thoughts on it?
So right, I just think follow up your point there, Tam. Probably the best way to put it. He done a job. He done a job. I probably couldn't tell you what his best position is. Shows how much an impact he's had for me. It's just not my cup of tea personally. Nielsen's talking about wanting to keep him for next season, and I don't understand what he's really done apart from a couple of goals. What was it, Dundee United earlier on in the season? Cracking away day, good game, but that's all it really was for me. He's not really featured that much over a couple of sub appearances, but it's just not for me. He can go back to Liverpool and see how he cracks on down there, but I'm sure he'll be playing for Coventry or something next season, no doubt. But as their step goes, but no, I can't really complain about the lineup. You were talking about the last couple of weeks that these games are just like pre-season friendlies, aren't they? Just before the big game in a few weeks. So I think it's just getting through these games. At the moment, as we said earlier, there's nothing that really kind of stands out. I was actually having a look back at our results, kind of over the course of the season. This is our fourth 0-0 of the season. So it's because I think my old man had turned around and said to me, it's like 0-0, that's a bit of a rarity for Hearts this season. And I think it's the 2 games against Hibs and once against Libby, I think it was in February. Majority of other games have either been 1-0 or whatnot, but very, very rarely we see a 0-0, particularly at Tynecastle anyway. But my only other thing I'd maybe say about the lineup, Troops, is that you'd maybe think at this time of the season would be, chucking in a couple of youngsters, make it a little bit more exciting. Kind of for the fans, let's see where the kind of the next generation of players are coming through. It's what kind of Hearts have always been based on, kind of over the years. And you've got the likes of your Mackenzie Kirk that's quite well thought of in the academy at the minute, and thinking maybe they'd get a shout. County a kind of perfect game really for it. We've got nothing to lose. They've got everything to gain. But it's Nielsen, and I suppose these players are just trying to kind of play for their place in the final, isn't it?
Aye, that's fair. Ando, what were you going to say?
Just to back up that point, absolutely agree 100%. Is that the young team need to be able to see that progression, like all the hard work and the effort that they're putting in. They need to be able to see that even like obviously no one's going to expect them to come on unless we're in like a proper tight spot, but we are in a little bit of a mild tight spot, let's say, just because of the injuries that we've got. If they can't get a game when we've got a couple of injuries and there's like fuck all left to play for, then the heads are just going to go down, and it just kind of pisses all over the whole point of having a youth academy in the first place. They need to be able to see that progression into the first team, and for me, I don't think they'll see that.
That's fair. Sam, we seen you on Twitter today having verbals.
Aye, well, it wasn't verbals. It was a polite discussion about what had been talked in. And while I agree, and I think there's a case to bring the boys on as subs, you're also stuck in a position where you're juggling boys who aren't quite fit, trying to get them a relative level of sharpness and keep them where they are. But you're also juggling, keeping boys like Moore and Civic rolling because they might be needed. I do think you should have brought the young boys on. We had them on the bench. There's nothing to lose. But I also think there's a little bit of a connection between Levine and Arnott's still not left the academy in a fantastic place, and they're trying to build up boys. I mean, you've got in mind, I think the boys who were on the bench are about 16, 17. There is no point in chucking these guys on when they're kids.
Right.
They are babies. To be in that squad is just an experience. And, when you talk about the academy and the gap there was boys who were 15 years old playing the under 18s in the final. There is a big question mark over what Levine and Arnott were doing for such a length of time. The guys who you would look to bring on, Smith and McGill and Henderson, question marks over whether they can do it here. So I think everybody would love to see young guys, and where it's something we could criticise Nielsen on, that there's reasons behind it. I probably wouldn't crucify him so much on this occasion.
Aye,
Fair.
aye,
Absolutely fair.
and I think as well, I don't think it'll be lost on anybody in the club that the management of like your Harry Cochrane's, your Tony McDonald's, all these guys that had the world at their feet, all the potential, all this overplayed, overstretched, overexposed, and now you look where they're struggling in the lower leagues of Scotland, when at one point they were heralded as the bright future.
I mean, I think you're right there. I think you have to look at where these boys are, and when we let Cochrane go, it's fizzing, but he's went to Queen of the South and not done so much. Is that failing on how we develop them? We bring them into the first team, too much exposure in and out. I think you'd rather look after these young guys and play them when they're ready, rather than playing them when they're not ready, and it hampers their development. Because that is what they're notorious for. I guess time will tell next season in the youth, but there is really no point in chucking these guys in, because you will just ruin them. That's a case in point. How many of these young guys have been on to do better things?
Aye. That is the measure. That's the barometer in it. Is the fact that it is hard to say, because, like, to be honest, Celtic and Rangers are probably only better than playing with Hearts, if we're being honest, at that level. So you can't expect them to go there. But it's the fact that, like you said, they're not making an impact, and then they're dropping down leagues as well. I think it's testament to show either how we've developed them or where they've went to. Tam, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, do you think it was a bit of a surprise as well? Like, we only named 6 subs. You're allowed 9. Do just even chuck in another 3 younger boys just for the experience of being a match day squad type thing, rather than just having the 2 of them there? Then you've got more chance of actually bringing them on.
They might have been playing a game the day after, the day before, like for one of the under 18s or under 21s or something like that. So maybe they weren't available.
Well, here was my point, right? We spoke about Woodburn and all that sort of stuff, and like I said, I thought he was inoffensive on Saturday. I don't think it was bad. I think he was brilliant, but he did a job, as the boys have said. But my problems comes with guys like Gary Mackay-Steven, right? And I know, but
yes,
there's a difference between. I genuinely think Ben Woodburn tries, right? I think you see him. Look at we spoke about there. Look at the derby at Tynecastle. He's one of the first people off the bench away celebrating. He gets involved. He actually tries. All right, he's maybe not doing the best, but at least he tries, and he never really, for me anyway, never really shirks what he's meant to be doing. Where I'm watching Gary Mackay-Steven on Saturday, and you see play develop. You're watching Boyce, you're watching Mackay, pulling defenders, running into channels, even though they're not getting the ball, and Gary Mackay-Steven is 15 yards behind them. And it's like we're playing as a free. Why we're effective with Sims, Boyce, and Mackay is because when one goes, they all go, because that's the point of it. If one doesn't go, then the press is easy beat. And then you're looking, and he's 15 yards behind, no even anticipating a knockdown, no got his hand up in there screaming for the pass. And I think, what are we looking to get out of him? Like, what's Robbie looking to hope to see here that we haven't seen all season long? Do you know what I mean, sir?
I know, I agree. I'm not a fan of Ben Woodburn. I've made it clear I would walk him back down the road. There's a lot to be said for somebody who'll continuously come on and not hide and offer something, even if it's the square root of fuck all. I guess he's trying to offer something. The easiest option in the world for players is to hide, and it offers absolutely nothing to the team when these guys continue week in and week out to hide. And I think that really sums up GMS. Is it better to do nothing, or is it better to try and do something and it doesn't work out? But I just think the drop-off in quality between Barry Mackay, Liam Boyce, Ellis Sims, and your free and Gino Woodburn and GMS is just so noticeable that you're going to pick up on everything that they do because it's such a drop-off in quality.
Aye, we kind of said that. We kind of said that last week as well, and it's one of the things, Forey, that we spoke about with Alan Forrest at Livingston. I know we have to have a bigger squad. We need bodies in. We're going to be, like we said, we're going to be playing twice a week for the first four months of the season. But the drop off in quality, like you bring a Boyce off and you're replacing them with Gino, GMS, or Woodburn or Sims and stuff, they just don't have the impact that we need.
I'd say that tactically speaking, for a second, if you go back, even if you just watch those Sportsline highlights for the weekend, that those 2-3 opportunities when we were out in the break, and you've got Boyce and Sims breaking their fucking necks to get into that box. Even Ginelli, to be fair to him, it's pretty much the only thing he's got his pace in it. But behind them, there's nobody else making those runs. There's nobody, kind of making that late run into the edge of the box. So when it's kind of getting caught by a defender, there's nobody coming in for that second ball. And I think, that's where we kind of lacked a little bit of that edge, I think, in my opinion, at the weekend as well. So it's an interesting one. And to kind of talk about Alan Forrest and all this chat about Shankland as well, probably a very unpopular opinion, but I think Hearts are better than that, personally, particularly Alan Forrest. I do. I think with the money that we're getting.
Thank you.
I think with the money that we're getting, with your Europe and where we're placing in the league, I think we need to aim higher than that quality player. And I think Savage has already shown with his connections down south and whatnot that we can take good players from either the lower leagues or the kind of youth setups in these bigger clubs, and we can use that to our advantage. I don't think we should be relying on kind of Alan Forrest.
Well, we can talk about those sort of transfers later and stuff as well. But I think one of the main points we tried, I kind of said on Twitter during the week as well, is that one of the most impressive things about Hearts is that we didn't do our business in the press. So those stories, I think there'll be something in it. Of course, the Shankland rumour's never going to go away, just with the fact that Robbie Nielsen used to be his manager, and the fact that he quite clearly isn't like in Belgium. He's going to try and angle to come back. So he wants to play with Scotland. He's going to want to go to the club that's going to be playing in Europe till the end of the year, rather than because he's not going to go to Celtic and Rangers. So I get it, but I don't think Hearts would be doing their business in the press, if you know what I mean. So sure. It is a strange one. Kev, one of the things I wanted to touch on, actually, you're drunk enough to remember. We got somebody else. Anyway, would VAR have dug us out on Saturday? Would it have been a golden?
So wasn't the best. If I'm being truthfully honest with you. I think that was about the right angle, Sam. To be honest with you, 45 degrees like that. But I don't think it would have. To be honest with you, I've seen it back on the TV. I'm not 100% convinced.
Tam, you're in line with that, aren't you? Round about that side.
Pretty much. I thought it was tight. I thought he was onside at the time. I'm in line with the edge of the box, and I thought it was. I thought he was onside at the time.
Were you there? Were you there, Tam? Or were you
Aye,
at the toilet?
I watched it on replay at the toilet. Aye.
I can't wait for the big screen replay so I can see stuff.
So you can actually see something. But you're watching the games in England and folk are getting goals chopped off or ruled onside with toenails and all that sort of stuff. And I think Josh Ginnelly's fucking sold the jerseys. He's getting no idea where he is, and he's playing that boy onside. I thought we got away with it like Saturday. That was pretty much it for the first half. Anybody get anything else written down? I think we huffed and puffed, but again, Sam, you kind of touched on it there. Brad's, we've spoke about it before on here about Ginnelly, Boyce when they're playing without your Mackay or your Sims and stuff. I don't know. There's just something off with Josh Ginnelly, isn't there?
There's just that level of inconsistency that I don't think you can compensate for. When your biggest attribute's your pace, but you want to stand everybody up, it's like banging your head against a brick wall. And I just think that's, I'm all for giving guys a chance and developing, but I think Josh Ginnelly's my age, for fuck's sake. Am I making it anytime soon? Am I fuck? What are we doing here? This is not a guy to develop. This is a guy who's barely played, and there's, you can see why he's barely played. I think you've got to cut your losses at some point and look to develop people where you're going to get a result, because it's just ridiculous that we continue to do this. I think he scored 4 in 33, and it's always what he can do, never what he actually does. You might get the rare occasion, but we'll bring him on to stretch a defence. Fuck, I think Andy's worried about it. Realistically, no. I could rock onto the park and people would be more scared than alarmed. Do you know what I mean?
I think we spoke about this on Saturday. It seemed like he had a total different mindset from the Dundee United game. The Dundee United game, he was direct, he was making runs, he was hitting shots. And as you said, Sam, every time he had the ball, he stopped. And I don't know if that's been an instruction to be like, listen, you need to wait for everybody else coming up on you, or he's thinking that he's missed too many chances now, the crowd are going to get my back. Like, his best moment of the game came at that last 10 minutes when he went past the ball, he cut it back to Sims, and obviously Sims missed the shot. But his asset is running at folks. So just do it. Just do it. I wouldn't quite happily you ran at everybody and lost the ball 20 times than stand still and pass it back. Like, that's the style of play I'd rather see.
Exactly what Sam said about GMS.
Aye, exactly. Florey, what were you going to say?
I was going to just say, take a moment to think about their lineup. To be fair, like I've totally forgot that fucking Callahan still even played for them. And then he had an absolute belting chance in the last 10 minutes, and he's just absolutely turned into a proper daisy cutter in that right at the Gordon's
shot for 35 yards when he was 1-on-1. I know, it was a weird
fishy. And then what was it? I think we were quite lucky with that Charles Cook not really having a great game. Everyone kind of rants and raves about him throughout the season, and I have to say from the times that I've seen him play against Hearts, I don't know if it's just an off day that he has.
I think you made a good point there. Sorry, I actually think he's reverted back to the mean. I mean, I think he's still a cracking player, but he was running hot, and he was looking exceptional. I think he's maybe reverted back to the mean, and I think whoever signs him might turn out to, if it's up here, down south, I don't really care what he does. If it's us, Hibs or Aberdeen, I think whoever signs him might be slightly disappointed what they're going to get with him. I think it would end in heartbreak, so to speak. I'd much rather try and get Hungbo for the other side. But I think whoever signs Charles Cook might be a little bit disappointed that they're not going to get 13, 14 goals. That's just my opinion. You can crucify me if you want. Won't listen, don't care, didn't ask.
But you're right though. It is that thing. It's the same like that on Forest thing. We see these players maybe 3 times a season, 4 times if they finish in the top 6 or whatever we've finished, and you think, fuck, they're brilliant against us, but you didn't see them the rest of the games of the season. You just hear snippets or whatever. And I thought, let's talk about Ross County actually, because one of my overriding thought walking back out of Tynecastle was we had nothing to play for. That was a dead rubber. It was a bounce match to keep minutes in the legs. We pissed about with changing shape and changing players and didn't even fill the quota for the bench. Their manager is up for Manager of the Year, having transformed them in the all finish and play in Europe. And I thought they were fucking terrible. They didn't have anything.
Remember,
I didn't see anything for them.
They're up against a big European side though, so it's the mindset.
But even when you're talking about it, I think like they started probably a wee bit faster in tempo than we did. But as soon as we kind of settled and got on the body, they would have took the what is it, Laidlaw? Is that their goalkeeper?
Aye.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Aye.
He was wasting time with by kicks in the 5th minute. And I was thinking, geez, they'll happily shake hands now and go up the road with a 0-0 type thing. And I thought, if that's the best of the rest, then don't sign me up to it, like, because I thought they were fucking absolute garbage.
Suppose that sums up the league this season, to be fair, outside the top three.
Aye.
It's peaks and troughs of form, isn't it? It's pre-split. I was shouting North County would get Europe based off Cook and Hungbo and just the way they were flying. But as Tam said there, that's the league. It's form, innit? It's how Jim Goodwin got the Aberdeen job. They had a good patch of form.
Aye.
You know what I mean? Everything in this league between 4th and 9th or whoever is all formulated, and that sums up the league below us. Is no consistency and no real quality, unfortunately.
Well, the weird thing, Ando, is the fact that Motherwell have won one match this year. They won one game. They finished in the top 6, man.
That fucking serial killer needs punt it. He's part ways with him in the summer because that's going nowhere.
Fuck it, keep him. Absolutely keep him. It's like, I love to see wee shitey teams doing shite. Just love it.
Well, wait until they play us, because we've our worst performance of the season, absolute bar none. Even the 5-0 tanking at Glasgow, because we miss a sitter. Devlin misses that at 1-0. It could go to 1 each, and the game's different. But we never even looked fucking in the game at Fir Park. We were dreadful that day.
Aye, that was the first time we were talking about this earlier on. I bought this fucking top for the away day for that game.
Aye,
I may as well have fucking burnt it, because this is actually the only second time I've wore it. What brilliant day out with you boys, but absolutely fucking shite performance. It was easily our worst of the season by a distance.
It was terrible. So second half didn't really get much better in terms of quality. We had a couple right at the start of the second half. Boz cut back for Giannelli, balloons it over the bar, kind of summed up his afternoon, and we didn't really kick in until the double substitution when we brought Halliday and Sims on, started to create chances. So we'll talk about Boyce, because obviously we know he's a good player. The formation and the style that we play, he's integral to how good we are, and it's constantly moving and stuff. But it just wasn't a good day at the office for Boyce. And to be honest with you, this is starting to creep in to his game, innit? We've said before that he's more of an instinctive finisher rather than like a natural goal scorer. If you give him time to think what he wants to do, the one-on-one kind of sums it up. He can pick a side, either side of the keeper, and he's tried to peg him. And there's something about him just now, isn't there?
It is exactly that. And Ando, you called it a way back, I don't know if it was December, January, February time, that the best Boyce is the Boyce that doesn't think about where he's going to put the ball. It's just that natural element of just let your foot or your laces go right through it and finish it off. And that's how he started the season off. You could probably go and look at what was 16, 17 goals this season. In the league, you can probably go and have a look at probably easily 12 to 14 of them being that instinctive element. When he starts to have time on the ball and starts to actually start to think about it, that's where he just fluffs his lines. So for that point of view, didn't think about it, just put your laces through it, pal. Cheers.
It's why I've always thought it's weird that we put him on penalties, because he isn't a natural finisher, if you know what I mean. Like, when you watch him and you give him time, 9 times, like, he is guilty fluffing his lines. He's missed half of the penalties that he's hit this year or whatever. The one thing I did like about Boyce, though, and what I do always like about Boyce, is he never stopped, and he never let the head down, he never sulked or nothing. Kept doing it. I actually quite liked what he said after the game, to acknowledge that he had a fucking shite game, and even said that there was a bit in the second half where he could have threaded the ball through to Gino, and he's fucked Gino under the bus by he's launched it rather than playing it along the ground and played an absolute shite ball. Instead of putting Gino through into the box, he's ended up having to fucking go down to the corner flag type thing. just an off day, Brad's, for you for Boyce on Saturday?
It was.
Nothing to be worried about.
Nah. The best thing about Saturday for me was my drunk dad's reaction to Boyce. He was Ando circa 2020 going fucking tits at how bad he is, like screaming to get him ass, screaming that he should never play for the team again. I'm like, fucking yeah, so that's what he been. I mean, it wasn't good at all to watch. I don't know. I felt like we've said it a million times. For him, it felt dead rubberish. It wasn't trying. It wasn't applying himself. He wasn't pushing himself. And he does need a wee rock up his arse for the next 3 games if he's going to kick on with form for the final.
Kev?
You maybe read the John Robertson came out in the press in his on his social media account on Saturday morning saying that he hopes that that Boyce does get to 20. I think Boyce must have read it and started to panic. That's maybe what happened.
He's got the whole Brewers drip thing going on there, isn't he? He's like, oh, fuck, man. Can he do it? Kev,
you definitely said on Saturday, quote unquote, I hope Boyce doesn't get to 20 just to wind up Ando.
Oh, I remember saying that.
It feels like you'd cream your pants if you got to 20 Ando, so he wants him just to stick at 19.
No, I'd be delighted, but show me, and you know what, this is just what separates fucking Kev. I don't know, any reasonable person. Is there anybody here that wouldn't be delighted to see Boyce get the 20? Anybody? You got to hold your hands up and say you want him to stick on 19.
Does it
annoy you?
Stupid thing to say,
does
it annoy you?
No, it annoys me that Kev's going against the grain and pretending that it would. That he'd like to see that.
Love the fact that Brad's has actually went out fishing the night and it actually got you big line.
He's not caught me at all. Don't talk shit. Let's move on.
Right, Forey, you've got your notes. What was your?
Listen, there's no slander on the notebook, thanks God, but thank you. No, that's what I was saying earlier on. I was thinking I had to go back and look at the actual highlights to just kind of remember what was going on with the game. But I felt, seeing that second half, I don't know if any of you noticed it with Civic and Moore, like overall they've done a job. There's a bit of a partnership forming there. But I think the movement up the park was a bit limited in that second half. You've got Civic taking 2, 3, 4 touches before, passing it back to Gordon, who's hoofing it long or getting out to Atkinson or whatever. And I think they were maybe struggling for options in kind of the second half, I would say, but ultimately as defenders they done their job, and as I say, kind of with Boyce, Boyce is Boyce. I think, see, if he didn't score against Dundee United last week, I'd maybe be concerned about the rest of the season, but he's, as we say, Boyce is Boyce, and I think there's a couple of goals left in him this season, that's for sure.
Aye. I actually wrote it down here anyway that one of the things I did want to talk about, one of the highlights for me for Saturday was actually how good Civic, Moore, Atkinson, and whoever played on the left, Cochrane. I thought they did really, really well. As much as Ross County were pretty limited, they did have 2 big bruisers up front that were like chasing every ball and jumping for long balls and all that sort of stuff. And as much as Sam's right with Charles Cook and all that sort of stuff, is the fact that he did have a couple of attempts to do something in the game, and I thought we handled them pretty well, even when he was switching wing to wing. And we've said it before on here that I really like Cochrane. I think Cochrane, if out of all the lone players that we could keep, obviously Ellis Sims is the one that you want first, but Cochrane is the one I would hope that Hearts could tie down the most. Is the one I like the most out of the rest of them. What about yourselves? Did any pick up on Saturday how well they played, or couldn't give a fuck? What's your thoughts?
I don't celebrate players that play in a 0-0 quad, but alright, that's all I'm saying.
That's why you're not at a podcast. Well, that's pretty much it then, isn't it? There's nothing else to talk about for Saturday, unless anybody can think of anything.
Just the regular Craig Gordon wonder save, but they're just coming 10 a penny now, so.
Did they have a wonder save? Did they?
It's Connor Randall of all people who took the shot.
Was that who was it?
Aye.
First half, Corbett.
Nah,
it wasn't a wonder save.
Not remembering it, like
bread and butter.
Not remembering it.
Well, it would be a wonder save for any other keeper in the league.
Well, actually, we didn't even speak about it in the headlines because that's how irrelevant it is. But do you want to talk about Manager of the Year, Player of the Year, Goal of the Year? We just fucking.
Oh, you mean the Celtic team?
No.
The Celtic awards. It's a shambles, isn't it?
Comparison.
It's a shambles. That like are those?
Still don't understand why it's done before the end of the season.
Am I right in saying that those are the awards are handed out because they're voted by the players? Is that the name?
That's the players and managers, the PFA one now.
It's a It's an absolute shambles, isn't it? Callum McGregor is the best player in Scotland this season. Give me a piece, man.
Wouldn't even say Celtic's best player.
Not a chance, man. Absolutely not a chance. The football writers one, you can shout on that and fucking throw it in the bin. That's not worth the paper it's printed on. Literally.
Who was that? Malky Mackay, Paul Hartley, Dick Campbell, and Postecoglou. Is that right?
Yeah.
What was that? Aye.
I read something about there was a Rangers women's player that was nominated in that category, and I think Rangers women's team finished 19 points ahead or something of Glasgow City and Celtic, and then she didn't even win. I think they were like their top goal scorer didn't even win, and it was like the Celtic lassie that won it. And like I'm not being better, whatever it is. I didn't watch women's football. My brother coaches it, but not my cup of tea personally. But if you're 19 points ahead, then surely I don't know. It just shows you. Not for this bear, I'm afraid.
Well, aye, and that's what I've said before. Is like Ange Postecoglou wins the league this year. He wins the 11th title in the past. Well, I know the 10th title in the past 11 years. He's won 15 out of the last 18 trophies Celtic have won, or something like. How the fuck is that a miracle job? How has he turned that team around? He spent more money than every single side in Scotland combined outside Rangers. But anyway,
it's almost the same down south as well. You know, you've got like similar like Pep Guardiola winning. What was it like? Trebles almost, and it's like they must feel the same. It's the same everywhere. If you're winning the league, then it's just you're getting it. And not saying I agree with it, but journals can't be trusted, I'm afraid. Informants.
Yeah, correct, mate. They do not. There's no need for them anymore. Right, we have to talk about Celtic on Saturday. The result on Sunday for me kind of changed the outlook of where it goes. I think if Rangers had picked up the points in the Old Firm or whatever, I think this game would have had a different complexion to it, obviously. Whereas now, I don't know if Celtic will even take it that serious. I don't even know if we'll take it that serious. Anybody want to thoughts on it? Thoughts on the game? Do you think how would you line up? Is this the game to give the young boys a chance so we didn't knock the confidence if we get a scud in? What are you thinking, Sam? I'll start with you.
I think you'll get a scud in either way, to be honest. I know that's pretty negative, but with the time of season it is, and a final couple of weeks in the corner, it's human nature that your eyes will be on that. Boys don't want them to get hurt. What you've got today is the right blend of boys who are coming back fit, who do need that wee bit of match sharpness, and boys who are going to be playing, whether it's Moore comes back or he comes out, and Suter, if he makes it, you've got to start playing these guys at some point. Results at this stage aren't important. I'm not giving a fuck. I don't think Celtic are particularly giving a fuck. At this point in the season, it is just about finding that rhythm and that sharpness for us.
Kev, in 2012, last game of the season, we played at Celtic Park. They beat us 5-0 in a Scottish Cup final. What do you think for this Saturday? We take another 5-0 for the Cup omens to keep going?
Well, I was actually, I said this before we hit the record button, I've got a cracking omen, and yes, I would take a 5-0 defeat on Saturday. So I am fortunate enough to have seen Hearts lose 5-1 and win 5-1 in cup finals, Scottish Cup final.
Same.
I've seen us win on penalties and lose on penalties.
Same.
I've seen us win 2-1 and I've seen us get beat 2-1. I've also seen us get beat 3-0, so I'm going to put a tenner on Hearts to win 3-0 in the cup final.
Just fucking random results after, isn't he?
Aye. It's also just showing you how fucking old I am.
Aye. That's fine.
You did ask you about the Celtic game, but never mind that.
Right, it's fine. You know what it's like. It's like when you talk to a drunk uncle.
Just another Kev rabbit hole, man. It's fine.
You talk to a drunk uncle at a party and you end up doing a rabbit hole. You're like, what the fuck are we talking about? Sorry, what you doing? Yes. What you doing for Saturday? What's your thoughts on it?
Just sitting in the house with a big bag of cans. That's every Saturday for me. What was it? When was the last time we went at Parkhead? What was it? 2008. Let's be honest. Like, I don't think if you speak, I think if you speak to any Hearts fan that's confident going into that game, like, don't know, I think you need to get your head a wobble personally. But for me, it's just maybe give, as Sam said, if you're damned if you do, damned if you didn't. If you chuck the youngsters in, then you know, kind of, it's going to be a good way to wean them in. It's you know, a good maybe 4 or 5-0 scudding, but I think it'll be 4-0 personally, Celtic. But aye, that's what it is. You just deal with it. It's just one of these games. They just need to be played.
Aye, you just need to go for it. Right, other boys in the podcast, give your prediction, score predictions, and what you think, Ando.
No foreplay. It's just going to be a rough finger up the arse. No, it'll be a fucking dry insertion, hurting every single fucking minute of the game. It'll be terrible. But it'll end up being 3-4, maybe even 5-0 with him.
Nice, Tam. You're going to say 2-0 Hearts, aren't you? I know what you're like. You're going to say 2-0 Hearts. Come on.
I'll take my clapper and my Hearts face paint
in your piece box.
Nah, fuck. Can't add anything else. 4 or 5-0, something like that.
Brad's same.
Yeah, 4-0, and then we'll see what the second half's like.
Same boat. There's no point even talking about it. And I don't care. Like I said, I don't think it'll have any bearing on anything. I would like to see us change it up a bit, because nobody really wants to be taking an absolute scudding a couple of weeks before a cup final. So you want to rest, for me, as many of your players as you possibly can, so at least you can use that as an excuse. Cool. Right, Kev, let's end it. We are Kevin McKenna's as players. Let's go through them, and we'll let our guests try and guess the answer.
Good luck.
Florey's face at this moment in time was, can't even fucking remember what it was.
Not got a fucking clue, son.
Good. So I'll come to you last. So the first one was 254 appearances, no goals but one significant penalty save, a winner of 2 honours across his career, and appeared in 3 Scottish Cup finals.
Did you say Sam or Tam? So
Thomas Fraser.
Fuck those.
Government
Go to
names.
Sam.
Sam's probably got a better chance.
No, you're all right. I've tuned out for the night. I'm not getting involved in that nonsense.
It's Craig Gordon, isn't it?
I don't
No,
think he's as many
last week.
appearances.
He was last week.
Well,
he was last week. And I think he's won more than 2 honours across his career.
That's
did you
before
across
my
his
time,
career?
though. Because you've got to mind, I'm a young guy. I'm not like you, Kev.
Oh, no, well, there's nobody like me, to be honest with you. It's about 86 nowadays, so you're
Henry
fine.
Smith.
Nope.
He had more than 250
Also he did.
goals, surely.
He did.
Brucey?
The one significant save I thought would be the one that folk
It's
would maybe
probably
get.
an outfield player that's went in goals. Or
So it
something.
could be Scott, but it won't be.
It won't be. It's Jamie McDonald.
Oh, fuck, guy.
Fair play.
It's the
So there we
hairline.
go.
That's what made me forget about him.
Sorry, mate. Sorry. Is that you talking about Jamie's at your end?
Somebody's desperate for a
Beautiful.
turkey, and it's
That's
a
it.
Jamie McDonald. Like,
That is.
Right.
Second
Go on
one
then, Kev.
was short career in the famous Maroon, 12 goals, capped at international level under 17, 19 and 21, and played for a European Cup winning club.
is it Danny Wilson?
That was my guess. All right.
Gennaro Zifuk?
Zifuk, correct, Brad.
That's a good shout, that.
Fuck, good guess. Aye.
What?
Great,
Ajax or something?
great over PSV.
PSV.
Great over 10, about 10 yards, that boy. You weren't going to get him running anywhere further than that, that's for sure.
He wasn't great. We're playing the fucking Vida League.
He
Ah.
was pish.
We were playing Vera League last year, we were shite there as well.
Aye, that's true. Right, boys, anything else you want to talk about? We're calling it a night.
Nah, but good.
Good, mate. Cheers.
Nice one. Well, thanks to you, Sam and Forey, for jumping on. Appreciate it,
Thanks
boys.
for
Thanks
having
for
us.
coming.
Cheers, mate.
You know, no hassle at all. You're welcome anytime. And next week we'll talk about how we got scudded at Parkgate.
See you there.
Right, see you later, boys.
Catch you later,
Bye-bye.
mate.
Catches.
See you later.
Bye bye.
Go and get out.